So we're going to talk about in the community. It's super cool that we obsess. I'll use that word over time to first taken, and it slipped for a while. And so we just get back after it as a team. I think we've got it at about 158 days now, meaning from the time someone signs a contract to become an associate till the time they get their first taken. Now, keep in mind, that counts someone like today that we're going to talk about that did it quickly, or like 30 days. And it counts someone that took a year. And the year is not a bad thing. It could be they had some struggles personally, or they had to get over some challenges, or they don't have a big goal. And they're just like, hey, I want to do a deal, I do a deal. We count all of that. We don't lop off the outliers. So when I say 158, that's everybody. It's the whole community, good, bad, or otherwise, okay? Just to give you context. So I have some cool announcements towards the end of this, how we've tweaked the programs to allow you to do your first deal in that short time frame, if you choose to go aggressively at it, and not do any split or anything with us. So we got some cool things to announce with that, and it gets you on your feet and gets you cash back in your pocket, which is pretty neat. So let's dive in. Mallory, maybe reminder for me too. So well, let's even go before that. Background, why Smart Real Estate Coach, when, I think it was after the event, and then I'll start diving into the deal. But I want to give them some context, and I'll make sure I pin that so they can see you.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Mallory. I'm from State College, Pennsylvania. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's dead center of Pennsylvania. It is where Penn State University is. And I have a W-2. I am actually a professor at Penn State. I teach real estate. So I'm a licensed attorney, licensed appraiser, and a licensed realtor with my license and referral status. So real estate has really been something that I have spent a lot of time doing. I wanted to have something other than just a standard W-2. I wanted to start building a portfolio of investment opportunities. And I just didn't have the time or confidence of fully knowing exactly from step 1 to step X how to get there. And so I found Chris on a podcast, and I came out to Rhode Island in March, met the team, and I started as an associate shortly thereafter. So I think probably, what would that have been, like maybe beginning of April timeframe?
Awesome. And then this taken, so April timeframe, this taken was signed when? I know we talked a few times, and Mallory's high 6 now. I don't think that was right away, but so maybe that time frame too. Was it 90 day and then high 6?
Yes.
Okay. So all pretty quickly. The time frame of this taken was signed roughly when, that we're going to go over?
This was signed in May.
May. Okay. So what's the exact days then? Literally 30 or 40?
It was probably about 45 days.
Okay. So big disclosure here, guys. Does every person come in the community do a deal in 45 days? No. And Rusty's dead center of my screen anyway, so he can said, no, of course not. But I wanted you guys to know what's possible, because Rusty's a good example, and others on this call, it took a whole bunch of time. It's okay, because when the spigot opens, and it opens quite wide. So Melly, let's dive into this deal. Let's see here. I'd like to know too, as we do this, let me start asking some of the basics, like what was the source of this lead?
So this was a for sale by owner.
That you called, or a virtual assistant called first?
That I called.
You did personally. Okay, so for sale by owner. How long had they been on the market? I just want to get some context for me and for them.
Only like a week.
Oh, really? So that's actually unique too, because FSBOs usually need more time to marinate and go, I can't do this or whatever, you know? Okay, so 1 week. We structured what kind of deal?
It is a subject to with a tail end owner finance.
Okay, this is great for everyone. So I always talk about on shows, owner finance, usually they don't need the money right away. They're in good shape. Sub 2, opposite end, they need like financial relief now. So I'd be curious before we dive into this, what pieces of that affected this family? Like why they want to do this?
Sure. They were a military family, and so he had been placed in this town. They were originally from Arizona, and so then they moved to Pennsylvania. And neither of them were like overly enthused about the city, and so he wanted to do a transfer to North Carolina. And so they decided that instead of going right into buying something new. They were just going to rent to find out whether or not they liked that market. So they really didn't need the cash up front, and their interest rate was super low. I think it's like 3.25. So that was a big thing for me when I was looking at this deal, that, you know, they had such a low interest rate locked in that I didn't want that to pass by.
All right, this is enormous, you guys. So I know a lot of this is going to be new for some of you guys, and it might be really quick, and that's all cool. We can talk to you later about it, and we can do Q&A today. But understand, in this market right now, one of the biggest things I'm screaming about on podcast interviews, and I probably did 8 this week, is you can buy property between 2 and 5%. And nobody can do that right now unless you know how to do this. And I'm talking about Mallory could use this for a personal residence. So keep that in mind. This is not just about investing. If you do one deal a year and you do it for your family, and you come back to your family, just picture this one. Hey, I just bought a house, 3.25%. Your friends will think you are on something. That's not the rate now. I think it's like 5.8 or 6. That is absolutely amazing. And oh, by the way, it will work great with the 3 paydays if you want to do an investment. Okay, so it's super cool. And then people ask me all the time, Mary, how did you convince them to wait for their equity? And I always say we just solved for something. So it sounds like you did that. It wasn't an issue. Talk about the equity piece, because they're waiting on it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they just didn't need the money up front because they were planning on renting, and you know, they had planned to rent either way, so that money wasn't necessarily something they needed to have up front. And they also were I lost my train of thought.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
they just didn't need the money up front. You know, military, I think, takes care, you know, of their people. So, you know, I told them I would help them out with moving costs. So I'm paying them just a little bit up front to help them get down there. But, you know, they wanted all of their equity and they were okay with waiting for it.
All right, so let's talk about that. Let's dive in here a little bit. And then what I'll do is, after I get through payday 1, I'll pause just so everybody can be thinking of questions, and then we'll do some live questions, then we'll continue, and I'll keep an eye on the clock here. So Mallory, the term for the equity portion, I think there must be a term on the equity portion, right? How much?
Yes.
I mean, what term?
30 months.
30 months on the equity portion. So let's talk debt and equity then. The underlying loan at 3.25% is how much?
$205,433.
Okay, and their equity portion you agreed to?
110.
This brings up another big point, you guys. People think that with that much equity, people don't do these deals. Or in California, where Rusty is, they don't do those. No, they do. $1 million deals, equity, it works. She just solved for what they needed solved, period. So if those add up, that will be the purchase price, correct?
Mm-hmm.
315,433. Do I have that right?
Yep.
Okay. So before we go into what we sold it for, I know you and Nick have a buyer, but you're not accepting them yet. You're going to see if you can do better, but we're going to use those numbers. We'll get to that in a minute with Nick. You said you gave him some moving money up front. Is that what you did?
Yes.
How much? Not yet, 'cause you did close, right?
This is going to be part of their equity, so it's going to happen at closing. So I'm giving them $4,200 in moving costs up front.
Okay, 4,200 up front. Minuscule. You can see the win-win forming here, you guys. She solved for X, gave him a little money. Like, you never try to get too greedy. And I said to Steven, who's on here today, he has a client, he's a realtor in Florida, used to be from New England. And I said, just make it a win-win. And I actually posted that call in our Slack channel for those of you in the community. It's in the scripts channel to listen to. Okay, so you sold it for how much? And again, Nick, if you have anything to add, anytime at the buyer side here, when I say we sold, Nick and Mallory did their first buyer meeting on this property with Nick's help last Sunday or Monday during the holiday weekend. And they have this buyer, but they're not accepting them yet because they're going to see if they can drum up some higher deposits or whatever else for urgency. But what do we have in the market for?
$379,900.
Nice little markup. Okay. Now with this particular buyer that I think we're going to do better on, so this should be conservative. What do we have for deposit from the buyer?
$12,000 initial.
12K initial. Anything over time?
Yes. We have $5,000 by the end of the year.
So this year, 1223. Okay.
And then an additional
So I was gonna say it's 31,000.
Total?
Just, yeah,
Yeah,
not
Cool.
additional, total.
31K. When's the rest coming, Mallory? You can keep going.
next year, 14,000 will come the following year in 24.
Love it. If you guys have any questions, actually, I'm gonna bring us through payday 2. If you have any questions on why we stagger the one or how we do it, Nick will be happy to dive in and even give you some scripts for the heck of it, just so you can see how well tuned this is. So 31K is our payday 1 again, conservatively, because I think Nick and
Huh?
Mary made better.
How come?
I don't know.
Someone have a question or no? We pick up. No?
Yeah, someone wasn't muted.
All right. If you guys are gonna cook, yell, scream, or play the TV loud, just turn your mute button on. All right, monthly payment on this underlying loan for 205,
1501.
1501. Is that all in principal, interest, taxes, insurance?
Yes.
Also a cool, like, manageable payment. Payment from this buyer that you and Nick had the buyer meeting with?
So they will be paying 24.25.
Wow. Like, seriously, there's no bad numbers in this yet that I'm seeing. So what's that spread?
$924.
And, okay, so even though we have a sub 2, which we could technically own for a while, but we have a 30-month ticker on the equity, what do we give these buyers? Or what do we, where are we with the proposed?
As far
24
as,
24
we're giving
months.
them 18 to 24 months to become mortgage ready.
Oh, the lease is for 24 months.
24?
Yep.
Okay, I think the deal structure numbers, you guys give them to me, because I think I had 30, but what's that come to? 924 times 24 for the heck of it? 20 something grand?
22,176.
22.
Judy, you are on top of it.
Judy,
I always have my calculator.
calculator in hand. All right, payday 2. Again, if this is the buyer they accept, and I'm gonna ask Nick to explain. So let me just do a pause here. We're on payday 1 and 2. They both look sweet. The monthlies look sweet. The cash flow is amazing, by the way. Talk about, Nick, any nuances. Well, let's talk you and Mallory about why these buyers came to the table. Who are they? What was their motivation?
Yeah, so the property they're currently living in is now up for sale, so they needed to find something immediately. And they have 2 children, plus they have somebody else who's living with them. And they had a little bit of a credit hiccup when it came to student loan debt. And so they are probably just slightly below mortgage ready at this point. But it seems like they'll have the money over time, but just didn't have it saved up right now, simply because they just had found out about their property being sold.
Super typical, though, right? Like, that's who we help. That's one of the many ways we help. Nick, any nuances from your end before I take Q&A?
I was just going to say, because of the seller's timing and with when they're moving out of the property, it didn't make sense to just accept them right now and schedule their closing and everything. Because the soonest that the seller would be out, and Mallory, you can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was later this month. It was like July 25th or 26th. Something like that. So in our contracts, one of the things that we go over with all of our buyers is they have to sign and fund no later than 7 business days until after they're accepted. So I was looking at a calendar and I did it out 7 business days from after we accept them. And I said the soonest we would let them know would be next Friday. If we accept them then literally within a day or two is when the seller would be vacating the property, and then they could move in. They could sign and fund once they move in. So it doesn't make sense for us to accept them now up front. And now is one of the most exciting times, at least for me, working on the sell end and with buyers that we have a great backup buyer. Now we actually reduced the price right before meeting with them for the buyers meeting. Now is the most fun time. You go out there and see if you can get a better buyer. So we have a great backup buyer in hand, but we're out to the market to see if we can get a better buyer.
Yeah, and so many times, the way this works when it's beautifully orchestrated, and this one's heading that way, is you do get the buyer calls, they ask about it, and you say, look, we got people lining up. We literally have a waiting list. We're going to accept one soon. The urgency drives the down payment up. You guys, do you think this buyer would, before I go on and we'll look if there's any questions hanging, maybe Rusty or Pete or someone can check. Do you think that this buyer has any ability to come up if they knew somebody was coming in to scoop it, or no, like they maxed out?
I think they're probably maxed out.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
Okay, that's my feeling as well.
So you can see there's a method to what Nick said with the daisy as exactly when they're going to do what. We got some Q&A, guys. Before the seller went with FSBO. Oh, had they tried listing it all before they went FSBO was one of the questions.
No.
Okay, so there's a tight turnaround for a FSBO. Did you use NAT processing for your marketing and, well, just marketing so far?
Yes.
Guys, there's no reason not to. National Property Processing, if you're on here for one of the first few times, will market your property, get it out to all the portals instantaneously without you sitting doing it like Nick and I used to do when we first started. And then once you fill the property, they will be the one on their portal to collect your money, pay the underlying debt to the seller that Mallory bought the home from, and drop the difference in your account. Collect, pay, drop the difference in your account. No brainer. You go get deals. Don't do what I had to do and do all the accounting yourself and then get a bookkeeper and all that junk. Good, very good question. Lead source, Kenny, was well, it's FSBO, but good question. Was this from My Plus Leads, Mallory?
Yes.
Okay, My Plus Leads, you guys just go to smartrealestatecoach.com on the resource page /resources. All everything we use is on there. My Plus is on there. Steve, she's not the bank. So here's
Yeah,
someone else have it?
I just said she's not the bank yet.
No. Okay, good point. So the question, the flow here would be this, Steve and everyone. Mallory and Nick are going to set this up as a rent to own. And then would maybe perhaps this deal change 2 years down the road? We don't know. And Mallory could become the bank and finance this buyer, but no, the plan at first is rent to own and have them cash this out, especially for Mallory's first deal. I would think that she's probably going to want to cash this baby out within 30 months. I might not. Yeah. Okay. I'm not assuming too much and get this.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the seller gets their 110. They're super happy. They talk, up a storm to all their friends about Mallory, and Mallory puts the rest of the paydays in her pocket. So let's go over those. These are good questions. So keep them coming. All right. So let's go to payday 3 here. We'll add all this up at the end. The premium, if someone can do that math, is 315 to 379 is what, 64-ish?
64,467.
64,467. Thank you, Judy. And guys, there's always someone on that, like, you're off $2 here. This is just an example. This is a buyer, but this is just an example. So don't get too caught up in it. We're rounding, and this will probably be lower than as I said, than Nick and Mary end up popping. Principal pay down. This is going to be interesting on this 1501 every month. What's the principal pay down as of today, even though it increases?
Principal pay down is, I calculated it for 30 months. So I want to say it's about 400.
400 a month?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So we're at what, 48 for 24 months?
Mm-hmm.
Whoops. How's my math? 4,800.
96.
What was that?
9,600 for 24 months.
My math is awful. 96. Judy, you didn't correct me on that. We had to wait for Mallory to correct me on that. All right. So just like I'm going to say this just because I know there's new people on and this gets confusing. So now you got to treat this like it's a regular deal. You went out and bought a house for your family, or you did a conventional purchase and you put a down payment down, you get credit for that. So now when we're doing the math here, we got to credit them for the deposit that they gave, and that is going to be the whole 31,000. To confuse things even more, when we buy this, are we buying it at the end of July? Are you buying this at the end of July? Okay,
Mhm.
when you close on it, are you taking over August 1st payment or September 1st? How would you negotiate?
September.
You did. All right, you did everything textbook. This is awesome. So you guys, I don't know if you caught this. So payday 1, Mallory just picked up an extra month and that amount is 24.25. Why? She's closing at the end of this month. She's not paying the August 1st payment. She's paying the September 1 payment. That's what she negotiated. We do that in all lease agreements. Sub 2s are negotiable. So she picked up that 24.25 right in her pocket. So 31 actually became 33.425. That's payday 1. Pretty cool.
Covers more than half the money she had to give him to move.
There you go. Good observation. Almost all of it. Sweet. Good job, Mallory. All right. So let's keep going on payday 3 when this cashes out in this buyer 24 months. What is this? What does this come out to? 64 plus 96 minus 31.
On my calculations, I said 96,450.
Well, just for this payday, then we'll total it.
Oh, I'm sorry, for payday 3.
64 minus 96. Sorry, plus 96 minus 31.
$43,467.
Yeah, Judy.
What is it? 40 what?
$43,467.
All right. I feel like that was a race between a few people. All right. 43. Now what do we got? We got 33,000, 22,000, and 43,000. What's that come to?
$99,068.
All right, we got to find a way to break 6 figures. No, that's awesome. So, but you know what I like about this one, and then we'll take some more Q&A. It's spread out, right? It's not like lopsided. Like sometimes we get a really tough payday 2. You got an awesome payday 2. You got some nice steady principal pay down. You got an awesome payday 1. Like this is a nice all-around deal, especially for your first deal. Now, those of you that, well, actually, I don't care what level you're at. Let's raise your hand with the emoji or just come on and unmute and ask questions or put it in the chat because Mallory did this in 30 to 40 days. I would think perhaps maybe that might be a good idea for all you guys to get after and attack. Like Kenny, you're coming in, like you're in right now and you're going to be onboarded probably next week. Like the beauty of this is you get on Slack next week and you go, hey, Mary, what'd you do? What were your lessons? You know, you talk to the community and you learn so much just from their pathway. So Mallory and
How many
Nick,
calls?
go
Oh.
ahead.
How many calls with the seller would you say it took, Mallory?
Good question.
It took 3 calls.
Nice.
And how many meetings?
1.
Again, textbook. This is really good.
Because this property is 2 hours away from where I live.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
A lot of cool lessons here.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How did you explain to the seller it was worth waiting for them to get their equity?
No, that's a good question. Basically what I told them is that they didn't have to pay a realtor. And so I ran the numbers based off of what they had it listed and calculated what 6% would be. And then I also ran some numbers as far as closing costs. And, you know, basically I said, look, you won't have to put this on the market. You won't have to have your property being invaded upon. It'll be quick, seamless. I'll take care of everything. And you'll end up being able to walk away with having your entire amount of equity with nothing else taken out of that.
You guys just got a script. Nice nugget. Any questions on that?
Oh, sounds good. Thank you.
I can't see the whole screen until I get that thing off my board, but Dennis Squalmy, I'm so sorry. I think you had your hand raised like about 20 minutes ago. I don't know if we answered it.
Yeah, you did answer, but I was just about ready to raise my hand again. What was the difference between using a realtor, the numbers you shared with the seller, Mallory?
So they had originally listed the property for $329. So if they had gone with a realtor, that they would have, if they had gone with a realtor and then after transfer taxes, because in the state of Pennsylvania, we do have pretty high transfer taxes, they would have netted around 90, I believe, in equity. So it was about a 20K swing.
There you go. Worth the
Huge.
wait. Yeah. Yeah, good
plus the
point, Dennis.
4,200.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
And she made their life easy. That's what she did. She just solved for X. That's all. What else we got for questions, guys? Now's the time. If you have someone that's doing a deal, did a deal in 30 or 48. And by the way, you're gonna see Mallory, no pressure, Mallory, but you're probably gonna see Mallory at QLS Live with another deal or 2 or 3 in her pocket. No pressure with 90 people that are gonna come up to you at the event and say, did you do another deal? There's nothing better than group peer pressure.
I just thought of something.
Steve, go ahead.
You guys going over this, with the seller that I'm working with, he bought the property a year ago. So he'll also be foregoing any capital gains taxes if he waits.
If you're talking about your client, the
Yeah.
officer, yeah. If he is not out of that property longer than 3 years, so as his primary, which he's not, he just started renting, he's fine. He'll have the exclusion if he does a sub 2.
Okay.
Yep, if
Yeah,
he rents
just
it,
thought of
so I don't lose everyone. Your personal residence, and I'm not an accountant, I'm just gonna give you what I know of from mine. Your personal residence, if I was to leave my house right now and rent it, once I'm past 36 months, it's you have to be there 2 out of 5 years. So once I'm past, look back, once I'm past 3 years, 36 months, I now lost my one-time my exclusion for primary residence, which is if you're filing personally, it's up to 250,000 unless it changed, and up to 500 filing jointly. So my wife and I file jointly. We don't get taxed on 500,000 of profit on that house if it's our primary and if we're in it for 2 out of the last 5 years. So that's why a lot of lease purchases, when people have their primary residence, they don't know, a lot of people don't know this. Doesn't dawn on them, but we morally and ethically should be telling them, look, if this is your primary, we got to try to cash this out in 36 months. If we don't, we can always pivot to a sub 2 because a transfer of a deed stops that ticker. So there's all kinds of ways to pivot. Rusty posted something in the chat. There's all kinds of ways to pivot this deal, and we call it wealth stacking. So once Mallory comes in, I don't know, call it next March, a year in the biz, and she has a portfolio she's looking at of like 12 or 15 or 18 properties. We now take properties like this and go, okay, well, we have all these payday ones coming in. Why don't we call the seller and maybe discount that 110, give it to him early. He's happy, and buy and keep this thing long term. Like there's all kinds of ways to do this. We could do pivots on this one deal for a half hour, and not even touch the surface, scratch the surface. Jose, did you have a question, or were you just no? Okay, good deal.
Chris, I have a question to you.
Yeah.
What am I missing? 2 of the last 5 years? What does it? You're saying that it has to be the first 3 years of the 5?
Mm-mm.
No, so they take let me say differently because I probably confused it. So if the IRS looks back right now, they look back 5 years. You had to have lived in that house for 2 out of the 5. So I'm just generally speaking, not counting move in and out or anything like that, saying if I left my house right now, I've been living in it forever, right? I leave, once I go past 3 years, I'm past the 2 out of 5 years, right? Because it's empty 3, not empty or rented. Follow me or no?
Well, if
So what
you
if
move
you
back
lived in
in-
it?
Yeah, if you move back in and then move back out, it's just.
Chris,
within-
can I clarify something?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so Judy, if you claimed this property as your primary residence for 24 months in the last 5 years, meaning
Yeah.
you've lived in it 8 months, because 8 months is kind of their trigger, 8 months out of 12, that counts as your full-time residence. So as long as that party has lived in that property at least 24 months as their primary residence, that's where they get the capital gains exclusion.
So I could live in the property for 24 months out of the last 60. Doesn't matter if it was front loaded or back loaded.
Correct.
Okay, I wasn't
So
sure.
you can do that, but then, you can't have another primary residence at the same time. So once you sold that house, you could repeat and do that again. Like there's no limit to the number of times you can do that.
Right, okay.
This is deeper and more advanced stuff, guys, but good for you to know. And by the way, these are all the little nuances that are cool in the community. Like I can teach literally any one of us, Rusty's here as a coach, we could teach you how to do a deal. It's not hard, seriously. But it's all the nuances where you're going to A, make money, and B, stay out of trouble. Those 2 main things. Really cool. Let me, before I forget, because the last two sit downs, I get into deals and get so excited, and then they go, Chris, you didn't mention anything that you said you're gonna mention. So let me mention a couple things. And then Nicole, I'll come to you. Thank you. So prior to about 2 weeks ago, maybe it's a month now, and if Rusty or Pete have anything after this, please chime in. We had the 90-day Jumpstart program. Many of you are aware of it. In the 90-day Jumpstart program, the challenge had been, I just told you our time the first deal is going to take you, everybody's different. We already beat it, but our average in the community is like 150, 158, whatever it is. So we said, all right, what, and number one. Number two, you had to actually, if you did a deal, there was an onerous split for you because you're brand new and all the work would be us. And if you happen to stumble upon one, there was a split still to us. So we said, all right, let's nail those two things. Let's come up with a 6-month program whereby you go through the 90-day curriculum with Rusty, as anyone does, anyone, high six, anyone goes through it. But now you have an additional 3 months. It's a 6-month program with weekly coaching, and there's no split. Our intent is twofold. One, get your first deal in that time frame. Don't beat yourself up if you don't, but that's the goal. Definitely, it's not, there's nothing wrong if you don't. And secondly, if you do pop one in that 6-month program, then you don't have a split. And here's why that works. I'll be completely blunt, which is, I know it's unlike me. In the 90-day program, usually who's in the 90-day program is who? If this is you. I'm not sure of you guys as a community. I don't know you. I don't trust you yet. Okay, it's legit. I'm not sure about me. I don't have belief in me yet that I can do this. We think you can, but it's legit. Third, you don't have the resources. You don't have a partner. You don't have a credit card. Like, it just doesn't, you can't do it, no matter how good you think you are. So the 6-month program works great for that. And if that's the case, let's try to get some money in your pocket. But again, don't beat yourself up if that doesn't work. We want you to commit mentally to 3 years. And once you do that, you won't look back. If you guys are interested in that, just go apply. It's no different. I just wanted to make sure you knew what it was. Go apply. Just go to smartrealestatecoach.com/apply. You're not committing to anything. You'll have a strategy call and you'll work that out. I just wanted to make sure I announced that tonight. It's pretty cool. Rusty, or Pete, anything you want to, or Nick, anything you want to add to either the deal or anything I went over there? Because I did it quickly. Add or question? No?
No.
Nothing that you didn't cover, Deb.
All right. Stephen Kelly, what if you're already in the immersion program? You're in the second to the best program. Congrats, for sure. You don't want to change that. Night and day. Let me address that, by the way, guys. Mallory's just started in high 6. I don't even know. Mallory, have you been on any group or mastermind calls yet? You have. Okay. So do you have any comments before I answer Stephen's question, generally speaking, about high 6 involvement so far? It's been weeks, but.
I mean, it's great to hear how other people are looking to structure deals and really get a feel for, the nitty gritty and just being able to bounce ideas off of each other at a high level. I definitely, and no offense to Rusty, but it's definitely more like, what I was looking for as far as like getting into, understanding the nuances, understanding, how to actually get these deals done and dusted.
Yeah, and so everybody puts those two together. Rusty's function as an amazing structured coach is what? 90-day curriculum. His job is to lay your foundation so you can hopefully bounce off of that. And Stephen, in your case, if you already joined immersion or you already joined high 6, you're going through with Rusty and you're like, okay, got it. If you're in immersion or high 6, at the same time you're going through that, you're participating in the monthly group calls that are private for only high 6 and immersion. And then you're in the immersion group calls every week after 90 days. So that's what Mallory describes is exactly what Rusty's function is. Get you ready to just crank it up. And Rusty, I don't know how many people are doing deals in that first 3 to 6 months now, but it's a lot more than it was a year ago. Like, we're improving it dramatically.
Oh yeah, a year ago there was nobody, and then all of a sudden, the last 3 months, it's just been clicking.
Yeah, and think about why. If you guys are hearing this, why? Because as a company, we focused on it. We went, okay, and what we focus on, all of us, improves, right? Well, you measure, track, and focus and throw energy at, it's going to improve. And we obsess over doing deals. And I don't know, I'm not tooting our horn when I say this next comment. It's a fact. I don't know of, maybe there are some companies out there that obsess over that versus in a team meeting obsessing over how many units they can sell of something. Rusty has been in many team meetings with us. That's our MO is, how can we get more deals? Because we know when we get more deals like Mallory's, you're not leaving. There's no reason for you to leave as a student when you're doing deals, none. And that's our goal. It's a great community. Okay, let's see if we got any questions in the lot chat.
Although on top of just making deals, it's not just about making deals. It's obviously we want you to get deals as quickly as possible, but we also focus on other things like mindset. Like, our high six mastermind was just all about mindset and getting your mind straight so that you can make deals, right? Because if your mind's not in the right place, then it's going to be harder to make deals.
Yeah, this goes deep. Rusty's giving you like 10,000-foot view, but I did it after the crash. We all can sabotage ourselves. It took me 4 years to get out of my head after the 2008 crash. 4 years. It should have taken me about 9 months just by going to the right mentor, and I didn't. So we have to peel back some of those layers sometimes with you guys. Why? We all have done it. Is Rick on here? Rick Abbiati? No, I can't see everybody. I got the deal up still. He would have yelled if he was on. Who was on? Nicole, you had a question that I want to ask. Who was on the mastermind, special mindset mastermind that we're now doing monthly with our own Dr. Kelsey? Nicole, question. Where'd she go?
There we go. Thank you. So Mallory, I just wanted to ask, so sorry, I didn't get a chance to log in right at 4 o'clock, but you don't have any real estate experience background, not a realtor, anything like that, or were you?
So my W-2 is I'm a professor at Penn State and I teach real estate law and real estate finance. So I'm actually an attorney, an appraiser, and I do have my real estate license. I just don't use it.
Cool.
Thank you.
I call myself a unicorn because I don't think that there are many people like me.
Thanks.
We need more unicorns. Who was on? Let's shift because I want to put some energy at what Rusty said. Who was on the last Thursday before the holiday? I think it was. We did which is now going to be monthly, I think, Rusty. We did a mastermind call. We do them every week. We're doing one tonight at 5 o'clock. It's for all the associates in 90-day and 6-month program people. You'll be there with us. Kenny, you'll be there with us next week, I think it is. So who was on the one last week where we did the mindset piece and has a comment about it? Go ahead, Jose. I want these guys who aren't in the community to understand what Rusty meant by that, because we don't just do deals. I wish it were that easy.
I think on my Slack, I reported that after attending that meeting, that Wicked Smart has got a super secret, and the secret power there is Dr. Kelsey. Okay.
Yep.
She was awesome. And I mentioned that I think she should attend more of those meetings because she brought so much to the table and in our discussion, increasing the level of information on mindset. We really all appreciated it.
Yeah, let me tell you, I call everybody doctor, so people are laughing, but Kelsey's a doctor. Okay,
Yes.
psychology, and she's also your community director. So when you're in the community, you are working with Kelsey, and then we found her the hidden gem of why don't you speak about what you went to school for and became a doctor for? So I heard she crushed it on that call, and you guys have access to her. Mr. Adam Steen, speaking about fast deals, how fast did you do your first deal? And then you can ask your question.
35 days.
35. Okay, so
Yep.
you and Mallory are probably comparing notes now. That's awesome. Did you have a question too?
I was going to mention on that call, we talked about the mastermind call. We talked about phone calling and some of the blocks, the mental blocks that people were having. And no matter if you're making 100 calls a day or 100 calls a month, the battle is still the same in your head. And so it was very good to discuss what we're thinking, what you're going through, so that other people can see what problems you're having and that we can work them out together.
So Adam, two things you might as well share while you're up, no pressure, but your background is what type of engineer?
Biological systems engineering.
Little detail. And then first deal in 30-something days. But when Adam talked to me about upgrading high six, and you tell me if I'm out of school about how I say this, Adam. Adam said, look, I'm committed I'm not going back. I lost my W-2 in 20. This is it. And as soon as I heard that, I said, then you're high six material, let's go. And a few weeks ago, he's doing, how many dials a week you do?
560
And how many taken so far?
so far. I have 2 total, and I've got 3 more I'm working on.
In how many days high six? I was up in
30.
months, maybe how long?
Yeah, about 30, 35.
Yeah, about a month. Okay, so just awesomeness, and we're getting there. We're getting better and better with that, guys. Better and better and better. And Rusty's obsessed with getting you there as fast as he can when you start.
Mhm.
Really good. Do you guys have any questions for Adam or Mallory while we have Adam up here? Because again, brand new, doing dials, hitting us at night with his nightly accountability, just really ripping up and making dust. That's what it's all about. And then we come in and help him fix it. Any questions for him? You guys have free mentor right in front of you. You can ask him anything you want.
Adam, how do you feel about your scripts?
If you ask Chris, it is a work in progress constantly. You have to be willing to get torn down so you can get better. And it is, how do I say this nicely? It is something that your mind has to adjust to. It has to be ready to improve. I don't think I've posted it, but I'm trying to find it under the gun here, you guys. I've got something typed. So listening to 31 Day Billionaire class, Joe Vitale said, failure is success in progress. He quoted Einstein, and I about fell out of my chair because that's exactly where we should be every day. So it's a constant challenge to put yourself aside and follow, as Brian says, short and sweet.
Okay, 2 things that you said, and thank you for the question, Judy, because I know when people ask that, everyone else is thinking the same thing. 2 things you said. He said something about what my comment would be, because what do we all do as associates? We send our calls live to our coaches. So Adam sent a long one to me this morning, which I, in my nice soft fashion, just critiqued. And what I said was I didn't listen past 3 minutes. I got enough. Like I knew what the mistakes were. And then I'm going to call his seller for him. This is what we do. We're hands-on with you guys. And I forget what the second thing you said that I wanted to highlight, but I'll think of it later. I know what it was. He mentioned 31 Day Billionaire. The 31 Day Billionaire is one of many courses that live in the academy. And when you're an associate, you get it all. When you're in the 6-month program, you get access to all this stuff. And Adam, doing what I would do if I had a coach, said, hey, what do I look at next? Like, what do I study next? And I said, I gave him 2 things. One was 31 Day Billionaire. Go review that every day. 8 to 18-minute videos every day with Joe Vitale, myself, Nick, and Zach. And it's all on this. All right. Thanks for sharing, buddy. I appreciate it. Peter, you had a question.
Yes, hi.
Hey.
I always hear different programs talk about all the money you're going to make.
Yep.
But my biggest fear and concern, having been a public accountant that did a lot of accounting for real estate, is what is the current percentage of people who default on making the monthly payments?
Good. Very, very good. Nick will have comments on this, and let me make a few comments in no particular order, Peter. This is huge. I talk about this on podcasts because, for context, in the industry of rent to own, there's no podcast host that'll disagree with me on this, or investor, frankly. Their default rate is upwards of 70 or 80%. Default rate, 70, 80%. That's awful. Morally and ethically, it's awful too. And there's many reasons. One is you have people, and I won't use names, that are teaching this type of real estate, and they're teaching publicly, hey, you know what, with the rent to own, just put a buyer in there. It doesn't matter if they're going to cash out, because you can just do it again, collect another deposit. And their legal agreements might be okay, but I don't know how they can sleep at night. So twist that on its head. We go anywhere from 2 to 10%, depending on what kind of year it is, depending on if we screwed up putting a buyer in there. That is extremely low. That's default rate. And it's because after being beat up and messing around with agreements, Nick, who now teaches all the community, but also does our deals, is obnoxious with who we accept for buyers. We put them through grueling underwriting and then make sure that they check every box. And Nick, you don't have to go into the whole thing, but for Peter's sake, because this is a very good question he asked, what else do you say about qualifying these guys? How strict are we?
Just, yeah, off the top of my head, to give you an idea, Peter, the structure and the standards that we put our rental and buyers through are stricter than lenders are giving loans for. So when it gets to the end of their agreement and we match our tenant buyers up with a lender that has got a lot of our deals financed, it's a no-brainer. They see, oh, okay, this person they not only made a down payment, they've been paying their monthly rent on time. They maintain and run the home exactly like it's their own, and they make additional payments towards their down payment over the course of their lease. Why wouldn't I accept this person?
Yeah. And let me say this, Peter, it's beautiful when you take your time. Nick is constantly telling the associates, you got to relax and you got to be patient, because when you take your time and do the right buyer setup, you have a buyer in the home. You don't have a renter that has a 40-year history of bad credit and maybe perhaps someday has a pipe dream to buy a house. Nothing against renters. I rented after the crash. I had to. But I'm saying some of them aren't in buyer mode. You want a buyer that has one of two things, generally speaking. There's a whole bunch of nuances. One, they went and started their own business. COVID drove a lot of that, but it's always out there. They start their own business and the banks say, okay, give me 2 years of seasoning, 2 years of history. They have money. They're ready to buy. They just didn't know they need 2 years of seasoning. Two, they have credit that was legitimately messed up, like mine. My credit went in the toilet during the crash. I had to rebuild it just like we have our buyers. This is how the whole business came about. My wife's saying, why don't you help people like you did? It was because I had to go repair it. And I felt like I should help other people do that. Those are the two buyers we want. The other buyers that come in with nothing a little down and these investors take them, they're asking for a headache. They're asking for a default. And some of them don't care. So that was a long answer, but I hope that helped you, Peter.
Very much so. Thank you.
Mallory, all the people that participated, super appreciate you guys. And Mallory, congrats. That's like textbook deal. And you're no surprise, you're a professor. You guys have a great weekend. It feels like we just came off a weekend. Have a great one.
Thanks, everyone.
Everybody.